What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday, 9-game slate. It's the end of March, so we're going to go through the injury report. Some of these games we were just talking a little pre-show. Doesn't look like NBA rosters or typical NBA rosters you'll see in the beginning of the season, but that's all right. Hey, sometimes you got to play spots like that. It's about who's injured and who's shorthanded more so than who's healthy nowadays for teams we're targeting in DFS. But we'll get into all that. DC, Mangone, joined by DC. I'll head over to you. You're looking good over there. How's your Monday going? Any fun things over the weekend?
Yeah, nothing too crazy over the weekend. UFC was fun on Saturday night for sure. Some good fights there. Getting ready for baseball, gearing up for the start of the regular season, obviously in 10 days now, along with the Masters all in one day. That'll be crazy. And maybe a little more high quality sports than we'll have tonight across the association. We were talking pre-show, complaining about, some of these games. You've got tanking teams. And the problem for DFS is you have to consider everybody, right? So it does seem a little bit silly to be playing these huge contests and you got to go to like the worst teams who aren't even trying to win to rely on them for production. But hey, everybody's got the same 9 games worth of players to pick from. And it's our job to try to identify the best plays and then go from there.
Yep, every single year, and end of March, really early April. This is what we have to deal with, but that's all right. We go through. I just was on the bet side with Tyler and Spread and going down, talking about the standings in some of those games. If you don't check out those shows, make sure you go check that out. They do a great job on the bet side. But looking at teams that are tanking, that aren't trying to win, teams that do have something to play for is important in DFS. I think last Monday, maybe it was even a little while ago, we were talking about the Clippers, and we're like, these guys could be pulled at any time because they don't have anything to play for. They aren't the youngest guys. Sure enough, the day after, 2 days after, Ty Lue puts all them on a minutes restriction. So getting ahead of the curve on stuff like that is definitely important. Mangone, I'll head over to you. How's your Monday going? Any college basketball Final Four and championship predictions from you? I'll go to DC after that. But I know you're in the college basketball streets once in a while, so give the people some predictions.
No, I don't got anything for you. I tailed off on the college basketball when Gonzaga lost because they were my team when I was really young. Like I like dogs and I like Dan Dickau for the people who are real college basketball hardos like Stevie Boynton. But I don't know. Gonzaga was a team I was just pulling for, not because I'm just liking the 1 seed and rooting for them. It's just I've been a fan of them forever. So that once they kind of died, which I watched during the Arkansas game, I was like, all right, we can move on. So no real college basketball stuff. Maybe I'll watch a little bit here and there. Maybe I'll watch the Final Four, but I didn't really watch any of the Elite Eight or much of the Sweet 16 stuff once they were done.
I'll take it a step further, man. I can't even tell you who's in the Final Four. I can't even name the 4 teams.
So
that's how much I despise college basketball.
The last thing you looked was when you left Big T's house. You haven't turned on for a second.
I was one game. The St. Mary's game was on at the bar the other night, but other than that,
St. Peter's. I take it.
St. Peter's, yeah. St. Peter's, yeah.
That's funny.
I know Duke UNC is on the one side. I actually don't know if I know the other side. Did Miami end up? Miami got there to the
Kansas, right?
Yeah,
Miami, and then it's Kansas, right? Because I see Holden on my timeline talking about Kansas.
It's not Miami. It's not Miami.
Miami didn't end up getting through. Okay.
Kansas beat Miami. Villanova.
Oh, Nova. Yes. I did remember seeing that now because I was kind of pulling for Miami. And then I remember seeing Nova and I was like, that's the team you don't want to run into. Big T talks about it a lot. And I agree. Like Jay Wright, like when you get like 2 days to prepare, that's a coaching advantage right there for sure. When you only get
I'll watch the last 5 minutes of the championship game if it's close.
I just looked. We had 205 watching. I look back. We have 155 now, thanks to you guys. People don't want to hear takes from guys that don't follow college. I don't know.
I'm not trying to give them. So I will. It'll be fun. A Duke UNC is always like a fun rivalry. I'll probably definitely tune into that. I don't think I'll tune into Nova Kansas, and then I'll tune into the final. That's probably how I'll approach it. College is fun too to watch like the players that we see coming up for the NBA. That's always fun as well because it's this time of year where we're gonna have dudes like I joked about it when we were at Big T's. I said I can't wait till Lampkin's playing in April and March because that's a dude that's going to hustle for me. That's a dude that's going to be out there grinding. So those are the guys you kind of have to look to roster sometimes late in the year. I'm trying to think. A guy that comes to mind is what was his? I don't remember his first name. Lemon Jr. was his name. Like he was a guy in the Bulls that like would drop 40 a night at the point guard position for $3K and then magically became $6K. Like we're gonna have a lot of these guys that come up here for sure. So and we have a bunch of them tonight that we're considering rostering on the Portland Trailblazers. We only have 8 bodies, so it's gonna be an intriguing night. Got tons of injury news that's gonna be coming, and we'll definitely help get you home and bring the winners for DFS NBA.
Absolutely. We got a lot of people in chat. We got Ian saying go Heels, Tori, UNC all day. Robert, go Duke. Nova, Robert talking about Nova's best player. Big T saying title, set these guys straight. Yeah, I was waiting for a Big T, a Stevie Boyton, someone to come in and be disappointed because, yeah, I know he would be. And Big T, I don't know what to tell you. Those 70 people that were here and left after they heard that, I don't know if I can get them back. So, hey, that's all right.
I was committed to watching until Gonzaga was out. I was like, I don't care. This is sad.
You're a Gonzaga fan, man, going?
What?
You're a Gonzaga fan?
Yeah, like since I was like 5, but it's harder as I get older. It's harder to like actually like during the season, I don't watch them like I used to. Like I used to like live and die with it. Like I went to tournament games. I absolutely loved it, but I don't know. I have other things to focus on, obviously. So yeah, and they're basically a powerhouse every year, and then they just disappoint every single time. So I'm used to it.
We got K Fallick in chat. Just keep spamming chat. If K Fallick tries to open the link, Simon, don't let K Fallick in the chat this time.
Don't let K Fallick in here. He likes way too much attention. Matter of fact, let's stop talking about K Fallick. If you want K Fallick takes, watch him on the premium show. We shouldn't talk about K Fallick on this free show anymore.
K Fallick on the Up to Lock show. But hit the like button for us, please. Hit the subscribe button for us. We appreciate it. We got 9 games, so we're going to dive right into it. Some games are better than others for sure, but we're here trying to get you to the top of the leaderboards. The Denver Nuggets, the Charlotte Hornets, 233.5 total. Denver is favored by 3.5. Starts off the night. On the Charlotte side, Gordon Hayward is out. Nothing besides that. As far as Denver, JaMychal Green and Campazzo are both questionable. So 2 relatively healthy teams. It's pretty much as healthy as you can get right now. Both teams are trying to win, which is important. And we have value on the slates, as we do with most slates. But Boston, without Tatum, without Jaylen Brown, other spots, and I go and mention in Portland and stuff, we can pay 12-2 for Jokic if we want to. We always talk about bigs against Charlotte. Jokic will probably be able to do whatever he wants. He's going to be popular, though. So, DC, I'm going to head over to you. What are your thoughts about Jokic in tournaments? I think it was us 3 on the show last time where you guys were making a case to fade Jokic. And he had a pretty bad game at high ownership too. So are you looking to fade again? Are you playing him? Anybody on Charlotte? Talk about it.
You got to play Jokic here, right? I mean, given all the value on the slate, like you said, Portland's got 8 dudes. Boston has value galore. And like, look at the other centers even on this slate. Jokic is just going to smash all those guys, right? Like Siakam against Boston could get within 20 or 30, but perfect matchup for Jokic. All the value later on in the slate that you could possibly want. He's been incredible. We don't even need to really talk about his production. It's almost every night. So the fade last time was just kind of sometimes the slate, you can go a certain way based on the players that available or that are in good spots on the slate. I just don't see it that night. So yeah, Jokic, he'll be in my lineups, and honestly, he should be really, really popular. He deserves to be, I think. I think he's a really, really tough fade tonight.
What about and running it back with a LaMelo or Rozier, anybody else, Charlotte? Anybody with Jokic or just Jokic and bust?
Probably just Jokic, honestly, from this game would be my preference. Again, so much news out there and probably more news to come, right? There'll probably be some more shenanigans after lock that we're not even anticipating. So yeah, I need to lock someone in on the first game, and you need to be really confident that they're going to deliver. And I don't feel that way about anybody on Charlotte.
Makes sense, man. Going to head over to you, talk about the Jokic situation. And then would you run it back with anybody if you're playing them? Talk about it.
Yeah, Jokic, he's a good play today. Not going to say he's a bad play. I just don't know what to do with him yet because the slate's going to dictate what you do based on like the value that we get and the opportunities that show up. So that's going to be really important. Like, for instance, let's say you have Gallinari out and Bogdanovich out. Well, like, you can make a pretty good case that Clint Capella against Indiana is a really good center option at 6.4K. Indiana's bad against big men. The reason I'm mentioning this is we have a ton of really good centers on this slate that I think are really good options. I'm going to pull up the cash chart right now. I'm going to list some of the centers that I put on there. I put in Nikola Jokic. He's on there right now. I put on Roby. I'm a little uncertain on Roby just because I know the Thunder are a team I don't know if I want to mess with, but it's a really good spot against Portland. I have Daniel Tice on there for good reasons. Daniel Tice is definitely in a spot where he can absolutely crush, and he's only center eligible. Drew Eubanks in a pretty good spot against OKC where they only have 8 bodies. Jakob Poeltl going up against who? The Houston Rockets, a team that you can attack with centers, especially if they're missing Christian Wood. So the point I'm getting at is sometimes when you build out lineups, you only can roster, like I say, positions matter. You can only roster 2 centers. And maybe Jokic going for 65 or even 70 is not worth it if you have some other guards that go for like 60, and then those other center values are just way better options, right? If a Clint Capella goes for a 40 and like another mid-tier guy, Drew Eubanks, goes for like 45, well, Jokic's 70 might not be worth it. Like, it's just, that's how the math can work out sometimes. Depends on how the other values do at other positions. On the flip side, maybe Jokic could be a better play if those studs at the other positions don't get there. So Jokic is a good play. It just depends on your full-on construction. Also, it depends on his ownership. If you're going to tell me Jokic is going to be 60% owned, and let's say all those Hawks get ruled out, and I believe that game, is that at the same start time? Because that could matter a ton.
It is.
Okay, so we will have that news on that. So that's important, because sometimes you'll see ownership, like Donovan Mitchell yesterday. He was 7% owned with all those guys out. And yes, maybe he didn't get there, but 7% is egregious. If you put that ownership at a different, if you give me that news way earlier on, Mitchell's not going to be 7%. Clarkson is not going to be at, I think it was like 12%. Those ownerships just won't be there. They'll be way higher because of how the slate shaped up. Everyone played guys in the earlier game in the Boston and the Timberwolves. So
I wish you didn't remind me, by the way. I was one of them with Donovan Mitchell.
I was there too, but I think it was the correct play.
It was, but
it depends what you swapped off of too, right? I think that mattered a ton as well. So ultimately I do think that Jokic is a really good play, but positions are going to matter on it. And with positions mattering, let me talk about Bridges, because I think small forward has been a bit of a weaker position on this season. And I think on this slate, it kind of stands that same way. I mean, if you look at the cash chart, I don't really have any spend up small forward. So what does that mean? Well, that means in tournaments, spending at small forward is a really smart thing to do. And if you think this game is competitive, Charlotte, they are competing still. They are in that playing game. They're trying to get to higher seedings. That can matter a ton. And I think that a guy like Bridges at 7-9 can definitely have a really big game against the Nuggets. I think that Terry Rozier at 7-6, he's perfectly fine. I think that price is too cheap. I also think that a guy like LaMelo Ball at 8.9K, he's in play in tournaments. He has a ceiling. Not a guy I'm personally prioritizing. I think I like other studs, but I wouldn't tell people it's a bad idea to run them back. So those are guys that I'm definitely looking at there, and I'm going to consider. I think Bridges is probably my favorite run back, but Jokic is the main guy that I'm looking at from this game on a pretty significantly big slate, right? This isn't like a 4-gamer or a 5-gamer. You don't have to load up on these guys. You can wait and see what's going to happen with some of this news.
Yeah, I said, I was on the bet show, I said I would be fine running back LaMelo because I don't think anyone's going to do it. Charlotte needs to win, and the minutes have been a little concerning. We talked about a lot with LaMelo, but they need to win, so you'd expect the minutes to be there. If no one's going to run it back, I talk about a lot on shows like this. On 9-game slates, there's so many good plays you can pick from. Just running back a stud in the same game limits your player pool. You can bank overtime. They can both go back and forth. So I don't mind the LaMelo run back. But yeah, I mean, if injury news breaks different later, it's March, it's late March, random stuff can come up. There'll be a lot better plays on paper than a LaMelo. So you just have to know what you're doing. But Jokic for sure in the first game, can always feel good plugging him in. Very good spend up today. On a slate, we do have a lot of value. So
another thing with news title to mention, like if you lock yourself into a Jokic and a Bridges, especially if you already think like the small forward position is not the greatest and like just want to lock into that as like a spend up to be contrarian. Well, like people are talking about, well, if Wood is out, I get Sengun. Yeah, well, like Sengun's not that expensive. I mean, yeah, he's not like 3K or anything, but he's also not 9K where it's going to mess you up too much. So just make sure you have those pivots ready if you want to. I think that's something that's important to think about as well. If the news hits, am I hurting my build too much? Like another thing too, I think people make the mistake of is, let's say Sengun is like really big news that you're hoping to get. And you already have like let's say that Gallinari's in and like Bogdanovic is out and you're pretty locked in on playing like a Gallinari. And let's say that game was at 8:00, right? Now, if you have yourself locked into Gallinari, then you might go later on and be like, well, I want to play Sengun, but I want to play Gallinari. And like that spot's already taken. So like that's sometimes I think people don't think of, hey, there's a guy that might be playing at 8:00 or even like 8:30, that then you have the decision of, well, I got this Sengun news and I have to move off a really good play. Well, if you think he's a good play and you want to keep him in there, consider him a locked guy as you're kind of considering the news. That's something else I think you need to think about this time of year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, talking about stuff like that, there's a lot more to DFS than just picking players, especially in NBA. You have to be thinking of that spot. If this happens, then that's going to happen. What spot does that take up? Am I locked out of, et cetera? So, man, going good talks there. And I think that'll help a lot of people when building. Let's get into the next game on the slate. The Orlando Magic, Cleveland Cavaliers. This is the second of 3 games that lock at 7. We got the Cleveland Cavaliers favored by 9, 217.5 total. On the Cleveland side, Rondo is out, Dean Wade is out, and Jared Allen is out. As far as the Orlando side, Jalen Suggs is the only one that's out. Orlando is not trying to win. Cleveland is trying to win. So right away, that just takes out Magic in consideration. They're healthy. They're not really trying to win. I have no interest in them. As far as Cleveland, though, they're going to play their guys big minutes, as we know. Garland at 10.3K, one of the crazier price tags all year. If you told me in the beginning of the year, he'd be 10.3. He's playing all the minutes in the world. He has all the usage. He has double upside. I think the price is fine if you want to get different as a spend. I think Mobley at 7.7 is fine. Karis LeVert is only 5.6K. He played 36 minutes yesterday. So you signed me up for 36 minutes, Karis LeVert at 5.6. I think he's interesting. DC, I'm going to go to you. Talk about this Cleveland side, and do you think the Magic are a fade like I do?
Yeah, the Magic, I think you could just cross that team off unless we get, we would need like a couple injuries, I think, before I'd really be looking to go to the Magic on this slate against Cleveland, a team that's known for their defense, playing hard. And I think, you mentioned Cleveland trying to win. Like, these games are really, really important for Cleveland. They're sitting 7th in the East right now, but they're just 2 games ahead of the 8th and 9th place team. And then they're just 2 games back. They could get all the way to 5th or all the way down to 9th, basically.
The East is so fun right now. It is so tight.
Yeah. So, I mean, and like you said, that means that a guy like Garland, he's going to play 40 minutes. And if it's at all close, if it's not, he probably had a big game anyway. So as a contrarian spend up, I mean, strategy wise, right, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm going to play Jokic, and to lock in 2 giant price tags that early could lead to some problems, making the rest of your team down the road. But yeah, matchup is fantastic, and he's going to get all the minutes. He's been a stud all year. There's no reason Garland couldn't go nuts here. So I think it's kind of interesting as a contrarian tournament play for sure.
Yep.
And that's pretty much it from the Cavs, though. It would be Garland or bust.
Makes sense, man. Go and head over to you. Magic is an easy fade. You agree with that? And then talk about Cleveland.
Yeah, I think I agree with Magic being a pretty easy fade. The one guy I wouldn't hate would be maybe an Okiki, if I believe their news could fall that way, right? Like, is Wendell Carter? I know he's gone back and forth.
Carter's back.
Yeah. So yeah, it makes it tougher. Man, it's tough. I struggle with the Magic, and I think the big reason to call it out is I don't even know this dude's name, Bowen or whatever that dude is on the Magic. Let me find it real quick, because this just shows a team that's not actually trying to win games. And his name's Jeff Doughton.
Jeff Doughton or whatever.
Jeff Doughton has played 30 and 20 minutes the last couple of games. Now, that's not because Wendell Carter Jr. is out, right? It's just they are clearly kind of in tank mode. So
they want the first pick, yeah.
Yeah. So how excited are you to roster guys that the minutes are very volatile? Jeff Doughton can go in there and play 30 minutes out of nowhere. There are just some concerns. So, which again, that can make you more excited about maybe a Wagner or an Okiki, where they can get they're younger guys that can get the run with the good players and the bad. But again, I think this is just a better spot. We talked about a lot in DFS. Just stay away from it. You can cross some spots off. This is one that I'm crossing off. And I feel similar on the other side of crossing off the Cavs. I agree with what DC said. Garland's fine in tournaments. If you want a really contrarian spend up guy that no one's going to go to, I don't hate Karis LeVert's price if the minutes are going to be where they're at. If you could tell me 36 minutes and he's starting again, that's kind of something I'm interested in, but I also don't know if that's for sure going to be the case yet. I want to wait to see starting lineups. Then I can evaluate that. Also, do I want to lock myself into a LeVert on this big of a slate? I don't know if I need to go and do that. So not a game that I'm excited to go to, but I understand the low ownership, like DC said. There's other guards, I think, as we kind of move on into this slate that I kind of already prefer right now. So that's why I'm kind of not going there.
I doubt he'll end up with Garland, but I mean, he could easily drop 60 here. If he does, you'll probably be happy you have him.
Contrarian spend, low own on a big slate. I mean, what you're doing if you're playing Garland. You know, so you can definitely play him. He's going to be low.
Can we answer this question in the chat? Because I think this is an interesting one. I think people make mistakes on this sometimes, and I don't know, Big T sometimes has a different approach where he goes a little more heavier, but Uzi says he's thinking of going 40 to 50% ball tonight. I would be shocked if he outscores Murray. Ball's playoff minutes right now makes him a 10K player. I agree he could be a 10K type of player, but I think with the risk and the ownership, like, do you guys agree 40 to 50% is right? I think that's wrong. If you go 20%, I think you're well overweight on LaMelo Ball today, where that way you can still get exposure to other guys. I'm not saying you want to have a player pool of 60 players, but I just don't know if that's exactly the stand I would want to take. Because if I do play 40 to 50% LaMelo Ball, I'm probably going to be like really heavy on Jokic then. And not saying that's a bad thing, but that's how I would be approaching it. You start running out of salary for the way you want to construct your lineups.
Yeah. I mean, I would think that would be kind of a poor strategic move, right? If you're like really trying to try to win the slate, like, but if that's the guy you want to go with, right? You feel good about him. I mean, sure. But strategically, I think you're right, Mangone. It's probably wouldn't be the smartest move.
Yeah, I also think this time of year it's really like volatile too, like of what's happening in the NBA. Like it can be very unknown of what's going on, but that could also cause you to cross off spots and go heavier on spots as well. Title, what's your thoughts on it?
I just never answer a question like that as 50, whatever. Like at the end of the day, you know exactly what you're doing. If he's 10% out and you're at 50%, you're 5x the field. It's your money. If you have a big stand and you think a low owned LaMelo is going to do it, there's always tomorrow if you lose. You know what you're getting yourself into. So I will never say not too much, too much. Like I know Snyder talks about sometimes in golf. I think it's like the $4 20 entry max, whatever the tournament is. He treats that like a single entry tournament where he might lock 3 guys. He could be 6x over the field on all 3 of them, but he treats that tournament as different. And that's kind of what I do in like $3 20 entry max and MMA and certain things like that. So I don't, there's never a right answer or wrong answer for doing that. It's ambitious for sure, but you know what you're doing and you're okay.
Yeah. We don't want to tell people how to play. You can play any way you want. If that's
I'm just giving, it's good to get different perspectives. And I don't disagree with what you said, Title. It's all about like your risk tolerance too, which is important to talk about. Like if you want to lock button a guy, like just understand what's going to happen if it doesn't work out. Like that's all. It's good to understand the decision you're making before you make it. I think that's really key.
For sure. Everyone plays tournaments differently. There's no right or wrong answer. So if you got it, and because if you only played 10%, but the whole day you liked him and he smashes, you're going to be beating yourself up over it. So there's no right or wrong answer for sure. But let's get into the next game first. We got 340 watching, 133 or 130 likes. Do us a favor, hit that like button, hit that big red subscribe button in the bottom right too. Not going to set a number yet, but we want to give out the plays of the day for you guys. Just hit the like button for us. Hit the subscribe. We appreciate it. And head over to Run Pure Sports to check out all the content. NBA, MMA, golf, NASCAR, you name it. We got it. Head over to Run Pure Sports and check it out. Third game on the slate. The third game that locks at 7 p.m. Eastern. The Atlanta Hawks, Indiana Pacers. 236.5 total. Atlanta is favored by 8. Long injury report on this one. As far as the questionable tags on Indiana, Dwayne Washington and Goga are questionable. Chris Duarte's out. Isaiah Jackson's out. Brogdon's still out. And Miles Turner, of course, is still out as well. Going to the Atlanta side, Bogdanović and Gallo are questionable, which is pretty big news on this slate. This game locks at 7 p.m. Eastern, so all this injury news we will eventually get. John Collins, Skylar Mays is also out. Mangone, I'll go back to you in this one. We're obviously waiting on a good amount of injury news that can change things. But Trae Young, 10.8K, talk about him. Justin Anderson, 4.7. Talk about what this injury news can do for you. And if everyone's in or you're just going to fade it, talk about it.
Yeah, this is pretty big news. I definitely like this Hawk side a little bit, especially if Bogdanović misses. He is the key because if he is out, there is so much usage that is funneled to Trae Young. I don't think people realize how much is funneled to him. Now, you can make the argument again, positions do matter, and there's a lot of really good, cheaper guards on this slate that could be more worth it. But I think Trae Young could absolutely nuke in this spot. There are also cases where Indiana gets absolutely destroyed because of Atlanta just being so good offensively all around that maybe Trae Young doesn't get there as much, but he's likely part of that blowout run. And I think he's going to be a guy that, because of how bad there are in defense, you're going to have him like play most of the game. So I love Trae Young in tournaments. Definitely something I'm looking to get to if Bogdanović is out. I don't hate it if Bogdanović is in, but I like it way more if Bogdanović is out. And I also don't think that's going to reflect in the ownership as much as people realize. Gallinari being out, that's really big. And it's really big for guys like Kayvon Herter. It's really good for a DeAndre Hunter. Their price tags are at 4.5. Sorry, that's FanDuel. I have 4.5 and 4.8 on DK. I got, let's see their prices because the FanDuel prices, that's
4.9 for Hunter, 5.7 for Herter on DK.
That's what I was gonna say. Herter's the weird one. He has had a bit of a heftier tag, which gets me a little more nervous. I think I would like Hunter a little more, but also Herter has that guard and small forward eligibility, so it just depends. And I don't love small forward as much today, so like I do think a Herter and a Hunter could be really interesting. It just depends on how you grade them out for some of these OKC guys. Like a Poku is a good example of a guy that, you might have some 2v2s with at that small forward position. So I think that they're in play. Of course, I like these big men. And like if a Gallinari is in at 5'6", like he could really feast against Indiana, and so could Clint Capella at 6.4K. I also wouldn't be surprised if a Kongwu got a little bit more run if you had a Gallinari out. Like maybe at times they kind of say, like, let's play both these big men, for a little bit. Maybe not the whole game, but there might be times where you see both them on the court, and that wouldn't surprise me against Indiana because Indiana, they're okay with playing a little bit bigger at times. So I could see it. It just depends on some of the news and how it all shakes out. So Indiana also, we have really big news with them because if a Goga sits, that's really good for that front court. If a Washington sits, well, that's going to help out some other guys, and they might be really shorthanded. So this is a really important game, 236.5 total, and one that I need to get the news on before I make all my decisions. But I think it's definitely a game that you might want to be targeting in DFS, and we're going to get the news here, I think, shortly on it.
Travis Duarte just brought this up, and I didn't realize it. Mangone, why does FanDuel not have a player in their player pool that's played 30-plus minutes in the last 4 games? What's going on?
Who is it again, Title?
Justin Anderson. He is still not in the FanDuel player pool. He is 4-7 on DraftKings, and he's played over 30 minutes the past 4 games. So 30 DK points in those last 2 as well. So Travis Duarte, good find. I did not realize that. I do not know what FanDuel's doing. But hey,
we should talk about Anderson, though. Like, we laugh at him as a player, but
no,
the dude has played 36, 31, 32, and 35 minutes. And like, Rick Carlisle has guys that he just keys in on at times. And like, Anderson's definitely going to get run. So like, don't keep laughing at him. I'll say that.
I'm not laughing. I'm laughing at FanDuel for not having a guy that you are agreeing he is in play, not on their site. And it's not something new. So
that doesn't shock me for sure.
DC, head over to you. A lot of injury news on both sides in this game. So you can take it anyway, because we're going to get the injury news on the Up to Lock show. Some of these guys are out. You'll have more interest. Just talk about it.
Yeah, first off, these are 2 teams that opposite directions, right? So Indiana, in theory, incentivized to lose. That would make me nervous about guys like Hield and Halliburton as contrarian spends. I think you want to go to the cheap guys on Indiana if it's anybody, and then especially if Goga is out, I do think Jalen Smith becomes a pretty interesting play. But you got to worry about the Indiana just getting blown out here because the Hawks do need to win, and this is kind of a little bit similar to the last game where you might play Garland, get all the minutes. It's kind of the same thing with Trae Young. I mean, he should just go crazy here. Like Indiana, just no defense whatsoever. Hawks need to win. Trae Young, you should get him out there for 40-plus minutes in most close games. So I do think he's a really good spend. I assume he'll be more popular than Garland just because of the game environment. I do like him more, but if you wanted to make that switch, that would be fine. And Mangone's right. When you take some of these Hawks guys off the court, a lot of it, more and more just goes to Trae Young because they don't really have guys that can step in and absorb usage for the sitting guys. So it all goes to Trae Young. No defense. He should crush here. So I think he's a really good spend up. And then the Indiana stuff, just going to have to wait and see how the news breaks on that.
Yep, definitely makes sense. Good breakdown there. Before we get into the next game, hit the like button for us. You guys are doing pretty good right now. Just a reminder, hit the like, hit the big red subscribe button. And then we got to talk about the members never win segment because there were some pretty good wins in a lot of different sports this past week. Starting off with our guy, D Jones MB, won $2,000 in F1. So what I'm saying, all these new sport comes out. We have content over here at Run Pure Sports, $2,000 shipper. So congrats to you, D Jones. M Carter 2388, $6,000 in NBA. Congrats to you. Jay Gingery, 6,700 in college basketball. Congrats. Our boy Big T, another monster score, 146,000 in PGA. The house just keeps printing every single week. If you're on a little cold streak, got to find the winners. Give Big T a call, offer him a little something, and maybe you can even get in the winner's circle in Big T's house because, man, it seems like everyone can lately. Congrats to you, Big T. Birdie Monster one up Big T in the PGA streets. So $220,000 for Birdie Monster. Unreal stuff, life-changing stuff. Birdie Monster's always up in the leaderboards too. So congrats to you. Multiple sports, multiple screenshots. If you want to be on this segment or have a chance to, in the members never win Discord section, post the screenshots and you can be on this section. So congrats to all of you. Awesome stuff. Looking to keep it going tonight with some more winners. So next game on the slate, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, Chicago Bulls, New York Knicks, 220 total. Chicago is favored by 3.5. Lonzo is the only one still out on the Chicago side. So not much that's different there. As far as the Knicks side, Nerlens Noel is out. Quentin Grimes is questionable. Then still the Derrick Rose, Cam Reddish, Kemba for the Knicks. DC, I'll head over to you. I don't know. I mean, the Bulls want to win. The Knicks, I guess, still can. They're wanting to win too. They're not going to be trying to tank. But I just don't see much on either side with two relatively healthy teams.
It's kind of hard to make a legitimate case for almost anybody in this game outside of just they're going to be super low owned, right? And of course, it's a game of basketball, anything can happen. But all the Bulls are back. You know, they've got guys like, not all of them, Lonzo's still out, but they got Caruso there. When Levine, DeRozan, Vucevic are all healthy, we don't recommend those guys very often. This game, obviously, a little bit of a lower total, lower pace. I don't see anything really on Chicago, frankly, or New York. You know, again, it would just be, you want to roll the dice on a Julius Randle and RJ Barrett. It could absolutely work out, but clearly not going to project well. And yeah, you can't really make a case for most of these guys, honestly.
And going 3 for 3 for a fade in this game.
Yep, feels like an easy one to me. Like if you want to, like you could always make the argument the stud that's slow owned, sure, like he could go off. But my approach to it is I think we're going to get enough news where we're not going to want this game. And I already don't want it that much right now. So I'm out on this game. We can just move on to the next one.
And I would go LaMelo. I would go at Darius Garland, Trey, any of those guys. Find the money if you want to get a little different spend up. I don't think you got to come in this game for it. So next game on the slate, easy cross off there. Sacramento Kings, Miami Heat, 216.5 total. Miami is favored by 12.5. For the Kings, Sabonis, Fox, Rashawn Holmes, Terrence Davis are all out. Going to the Going to the Miami side. Let me find it. Gabe Vincent, Tyler Hero questionable. PJ Tucker also questionable. So little news we're waiting on for Miami. Caleb Martin is also out. I mean, I don't know. Without Sacramento's guys, like I'm looking at some of their best players, Dante DiVincenzo, there's Metu, Lamb, Holiday, just another team that I don't want anything to do with right now. As far as the Miami side, Bam, 8K center, I don't know. DC, I'll go back to you again. I'm not seeing too much I like in this one.
Yeah, I hear you. This game definitely makes me nervous. To me, we can't just ignore kind of what Sacramento is doing right now. Losing Fox and Sabonis. I mean, they let Davion Mitchell, what are they letting him play? Like 42 minutes?
His price now, man, 7-4. But you're right. You look at the numbers, you're right.
And it's a tough matchup and all that. But I mean, at least so far, they're saying, you know, go get him for these last whatever it is. And he's going to have that opportunity to do it again tonight. And, you know, he's playing well. He's the man now. And, you know, the other guys are playing a lot of minutes too. Like Harrison Barnes playing huge minutes. DiVincenzo, I think, could have a good game. So it's like, if Sacramento competes in this game or wins this game, I bet some of these Kings guys are going to have some pretty big scores because you know where the production is going to come from. It's Davion Mitchell that I would most want to play. But the thing is, I think if Mitchell plays well and is out there for 40 minutes, Harrison Barnes could be out there for 40 minutes. And the forward spots on this slate are a little bit tough to fill. So with, you know, like there's so many guards, so many centers, but forwards still a little sketchy. So I don't know. As a contrarian play, I wouldn't mind going with some of these Kings guys and hoping the starters can play well. Because if they do, I think they're going to be out there all game and produce. So I don't know. It's a you know, it would be a contrarian way to play, but it does make some sense, at least in my head. It would be Mitchell and DiVincenzo and Barnes would be the three guys led by Mitchell. And then the King side, I guess if Hero sits, you could look to a Jimmy Butler, but the Miami side rather. But yeah, I'm not super interested in that side of it.
Makes sense. Before we get into to you, Mangone, Steph in chat, just subscribed, new to the channel, tuning in. We appreciate that, Steph. Happy to have you. We're here every single day, 4:45 Eastern. MLB's coming up. We have shows for those every day. MMA every week, NASCAR, so many shows here. So appreciate you hanging out. And I think you'll enjoy it. Glad you hit the subscribe button. You'll get alerts every time we go live. For anyone else not subscribed, hit that big red subscribe button. Hit the like button for us, please. We appreciate it. Baseball Dad tuning in too. We appreciate all you guys hanging out with us. Mangone, I'll head over to you. Waiting on some news on the Miami side. Talk about this game.
Yeah, I mean, the Miami news definitely matters for sure, especially with like forward. Again, like I don't love forward today. Like it's not my favorite position. So like if a Tyler Hero sits and he's playing against Sacramento, and like people might say, oh, well, Sacramento, they suck and they won't be able to hang. Well, like, has Miami shown you any reason why they won't let teams hang in games? They're getting destroyed by teams. Like Sacramento might actually hang in this game. I think there's a better chance than people realize that they are hanging around, be able to keep Jimmy just pushing it. And I think that Jimmy Butler would become a really, really strong play for me. Again, that 12.5, it feels kind of steep, but like, I don't know. I think I'd rather jump on the Kings getting the plus 12.5 if I was betting this game, just because I mean, JJ talks about this a lot in betting, like in baseball. Like today's the day the Heat are their streak is gonna stop, right? Like it's like, well, I mean, when is it gonna stop? You know, and Miami could still win, and you're getting 12.5. That's a lot of points to give to a team that is a bunch of young players that are fighting for spots and fighting just to, you know, get better. So again, I think that this Kings team can keep it close enough where Miami, you get most of the run. And if you don't, let's say you don't get all of the run from these guys. Well, there's a chance Jimmy Butler's part of the blowout. There's a chance that maybe it's Bam Adebayo and it hurts you. But again, forward is not the greatest position in an 8-3. If Hero's out, I think that's definitely a guy that I'm looking to get into my lineup. So I'm going to consider that. 7-4 Davion Mitchell, man, he can pay off the tag he's shown, but I don't want to go there when there's other options. Like, I just don't think it's too necessary for me on this slate. Like I'd rather find a way to get a little up higher to like Jordan Poole, who has shown a really nice floor ceiling combination. So there's other guys I'd rather go to. I wouldn't hate maybe a Harrison Barnes. That's someone I can maybe get behind that's showing a bit of a ceiling. But again, there's other guys I'd rather go to. And the only reason I mention him is because, again, forward is not a bad spot, I think, to be a little bit different today. And that's someone that I can maybe go to. Maybe it's a Metu at 4-1 who could show a ceiling at times. I know we can absolutely screw over your lineups, but I do think that there are some guys on the Kings you could take shots on and like playing 150 lineups. But if I do take shots on those Kings, it's likely with Jimmy Butler ran back. That's kind of my thought process there.
I like it. Good breakdown for sure. 9-game slate. We have 4 games left. I'm setting the like number at 230. We're at 181 right now, 443 watching. I'll remind you once or twice more, but I'm not going to beg anymore. We appreciate if you hit it. Hit the subscribe. 230 is the number for the plays of the day, though. Next game on the slate, and this is a big one for DFS, the Boston Celtics, Toronto Raptors, 209.5 total. Toronto is favored by 8. Go to the injury report for Boston. Jason Tatum, Robert Williams, Jaylen Brown, Al Horford, all are out today. Obviously, that's very big news for the 5 starters for Boston. As far as Toronto, Gary Trent doubtful, Kem Birch and Malachi Flynn are out. So I'm going to read off what I think the starting lineup is going to be for Boston. We're going to get the news eventually. This game starts at 7:30. Who knows when we'll get it? Probably before lock, but not for sure. I think it's going to be Smart, Derek White, Nesmith, Grant Williams, Daniel Tice. Could maybe be a Pritchard in the starting lineup. Sure. I'm not expecting that, but who knows? We'll get it probably before lock. That's how I'm approaching it, though. And I have interest in all 5 of those guys. I mean, every single one. Nesmith, min price, 3K if he starts, sign me up. Daniel Tice having to play big. Peyton Pritchard off the bench at 3.9. Absolutely. Derek White, 5.3. Smart, 6K. Grant Williams, 4.4. Mangone, I'll go to you first in this one. I'm interested in all the Boston pieces. It's hard not to be. Then Toronto, I don't have as much interest there because they're healthy and the prices are right. But we know they do play minutes. So talk about this game.
Yeah, so I don't think people realize like the Celtics are way deeper than I think like people think. Like they have a lot more bodies. Like,
but Nate, if you go to the bottom, name some of the bodies that they have. They're not gonna. I mean, they do have a lot of bodies, but they're not gonna play what 4 of those guys. Probably 4. I'm thinking. I think they're gonna run
Maybe.
9.
I mean, that's what you say, but like
9-man rotation. I don't know.
Again, you're taking some risks. Like I think you're taking risk with playing Marcus Smart. I think you're taking risk with playing Derek White. Like ideally, if you told me that those guys were going to get normal rotation minutes, I'd be in. But I'm not as like locked in that like that's going to happen. Like yes, you have some absolute clowns down here. Like you got Nick Castillo Stauskas, right?
Nick Stauskas.
I got him to play him tonight.
I was gonna say he's actually one that's actually gonna probably play.
He's the first guy. Like he's one of the first guys on the clown list I'd consider. Like Roger Thomas. Like I've done that.
I think he's gonna go off tonight.
That's not my favorite thing to do. Today is 3/28, March 28th, and we have Matt Ryan. I don't know what Matt Ryan on the Celtics looks like, but little Falcons Patriots narrative with the 3/28. So we got a lot of just absolutely ridiculous players down here. Like a Malik Fitz. I don't know what a Malik Fitz is. I don't know. Keelan Martin. I remember the name, but I
think he was Butler. But yeah, exactly. Now you're cutting. See, this is what I'm trying to say. I'm laughing. Oh, you brought up Nick Stauskas was the first one. I had no clue the name, but he's actually one that will get minutes. But that's what I'm saying. Smart, I mean, if it's a blowout, why would they play these guys? But Neesmith, Peyton Pritchard,
I agree on them. That's where it gets interesting. So let's talk about those guys. So Neesmith and Pritchard, I feel way better about them. Also, Grant Williams hasn't really played minutes at the 5 this year. I'm not expecting him to magically play minutes at the 5 tonight. Now, could he? Yeah. I mean, if Matt Ryan's out there, yeah, anything can happen. But I think that Luke Cornett could be maybe one of the sneaky guys off the bench that could slide in for Tyson at times at the 5, and you could even see him maybe play at the 4 at times. Daniel Tyson, another one that I kind of feel good about because he's a good fantasy point per minute producer. If I told you Daniel Tyson went out there for 15 to 18 minutes, and it's probably even more than that, but I'm talking the real floor if it gets really bad. And he got you 25 fantasy points, that's in his range of outcomes. That's possible. Now I expect way more minutes for him, but I'm just explaining the risk to him if he has the floor game, or sorry, I'm talking about the floor basically. So I do think that Daniel Tice is a really good option that you can consider. I think that Neesmith, mainly the cheap guys. I'm definitely more worried about the White and the Smarts. Those are the guys I'm more concerned about. Even Grant Williams, I'm not super excited about, but I don't mind him here in this spot. And I'm also kind of, I think, limiting my Celtics. If it's slamming 3 or 4 of them, I mean, that's more opportunities to land on landmines. So I definitely think I'm thinking a little bit more about how I roster these Celtic options. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not trying to jam in 3 or 4 because I understand there could be a guy that just randomly anchors down my lineup and I don't get it right. So I want to think about that a little bit when I'm kind of constructing.
Why are you so concerned that Smart and White are going to have their minutes reduced?
I mean, why are these guys playing in this game? Why are they? I don't know. I mean,
look at the standings though.
They're tied.
I mean, obviously, the Heat. It looks like people don't want to play Brooklyn round 1. I get that stuff for sure, but I think that was more my they're in the 1 speed. I think these guys are going to run out there if it's a close game. I don't know though.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a close game though, second night of the back-to-back, Toronto's been playing great. I also have all these guards in that Portland game that are in the same range and going to be in really good spots. And even if the game blows out, I think they'll still be out there. I do think there is some risk then. That doesn't mean I'm crossing them off. I do want to mention that. I think they're in play, but I do have more concerns about it. I mean, I don't know. I'm very confused why Marcus Smart is out there today. He's a guy I wouldn't be surprised if he goes out there and he only plays 10 first half minutes or maybe 12. And then I don't know, game blows out and he's just not out there. I just get a little more concerned about it. And maybe that's just me being wrong. I could be wrong on this thought process, but it's a pretty big slate. There's a lot of really good plays. And when that's the case, I try to think of what can go wrong for my guys and think of all the possibilities. And that's kind of some of the stuff I'm thinking about. What if he does play 25 minutes and he doesn't, or even 30? He can still not pay off a 6K tag. He can still go for only 30 DK points, which is fine. But is that winning me a GPP? I don't know if it is. And if he's going to be chalky, then that's something else to think about as well.
Makes sense. DC, I'll go to you. It's a very important game to talk about on the Boston side. Sorry, first of all, just say Toronto. Are you fading that? Or if there's a one-off, talk about it. Then talk about the Boston side. If you have interest in Stauskas and other spots.
I mean, I'm not on Toronto's side. So just the Boston side. I'm still confused, man, going, why are you saying, why is Marcus Smart playing in this game? The Celtics could slip to 4th in the East. They definitely want to win this game.
Why is Tatum not playing then? I mean, he's not that hurt, is he? Is it a rest day?
I don't know.
That's what I'm just, they just lost Robert Williams too. Are they down to lose another guy? I don't know. I think as the game develops, there are more opportunities for it to go wrong for you than some other plays on this slate. Now, of course, if the game is tight, yes, Marcus Smart is going to probably play the normal allotment of minutes, but I definitely have way more concerns that it doesn't go that way. I just think there's more pass to failure than I think people are taking into account.
Before DC, you talk about it, and I hope you're not on him. Anchor Talk, Sam Hauser season, he said, Sam Hauser is the guy that Big T would literally roster anybody in their life over a guy like Sam Hauser. Big whitey, can shoot a little, not very athletic, played in Wisconsin, so I watched all of his stuff. That is not a play that I recommend, that I think Big T will ever touch. But yeah, he's going to get some minutes. I know DC's looking him up. Big, long, white guy. He can shoot it a little bit, but he is not an NBA game, really. So I would not recommend playing a Sam Hauser, but he's going to get minutes. So if that's what you want.
Title, let me make one more case before DC goes into it of why, again, I'm a little more concerned. Do you remember the college basketball slate that I played the other day? I said there's 5 to 4 Arkansas guys popping in the optimals, right? It was a 4-game slate. Steve Boyden's in the chat. He goes, Arkansas is the best values, this, that. I go back at the end of the night to look, and I had 3 Arkansas guys. I limited it to how many I was going to have. My approach didn't work as much because Arkansas ended up winning and beating Gonzaga, so it didn't work to the game script that I kind of built. But the winning lineup only had 1 Arkansas guy. It was just 1, and all the optimals had 5 or 4. So weird things can just happen in DFS, and they were like the slam dunk values. Like, it's just things you can't explain sometimes can happen. And like, I don't know, Marcus Smart Chalk, like, not saying he's like the chalkiest play on the slate. It sounds like these OKC guys are going to be more, but he's coming in at some ownership. There is some reason to just kind of like take a step back and think about it a little bit.
DC, we got Mangone's perspective. I'm expecting a different one here, but DC, talk about Boston. How many is too many? And then rank some.
Yeah, I mean, if these guys do get the big minutes and play normally like I think they will, I mean, Tyson at 3.7 feels like just a slam dunk play to me. Smart, Derek White, those 3, I think, I'm trying to get them in my lineups. Now, guard spots are very, very valuable. So you do have to kind of pick and choose. And maybe that's kind of Mangone's perspective here, because there are other guards to pay for. And so if it, at 6K Marcus Smart, you do need 40 from him tonight, most likely, something around there. Same, 35 for White, which is not a guarantee. Toronto's a tough defensive team, so I get it from that perspective, but I expect big games out of all these guys. Yeah, and then I like the Cornette call. I could see him playing, you never know. They could limit Tice to 25 minutes here, give Cornette the other half of the center minutes. He could go off at 3K, so I think that makes some sense. And then, yeah, Nick Stauskas. I mean, he was like setting records in the G League. This was like 3 weeks ago. And then Boston signed him to a 2-year contract. Like they wanted him, and he was just lighting it up. And he has been playing they have been giving him a couple of minutes here and there. So I don't know if this game does go a little haywire. It wouldn't shock me if he came out and lit it up tonight. I'll say that.
Makes sense. So if you had a rank your top 4 from
Celtics,
first to fourth.
Tice, just as including salary and everything.
Yeah, point per dollar. Yep.
Yeah, Tice, White, Smart, Neesmith, I would say.
I like it for sure. Yeah.
And then Grant Williams is a good play too, but I worry his role is not really going to change all that much.
Can I give my rankings? I want to go the other way on DC. I want to say I like Tice. I'm going to put Neesmith at 1 and then Tice 2. Like those guys at their prices, I like more because I'm not as scared of what's to come.
I understand. Yeah.
So that's why I'm putting them 1 and 2. If I have to pick between White and Smart, my lean is definitely White because of the price. I'll say that. So I'll probably slide Pritchard in at 3 and then maybe White at 4. And I don't know, I might get frisky with some Luke Cornette if it gets interesting. I mean, 3K center. The only issue again is if you think Jokic is a great spend up, it's well, now I can only roster him in 1 spot. Same with Daniel Tice. If you put Tyson, you put in Jokic, you have no more opportunities for centers. And we did just get news that Gallinari is going to be out. Bogdanovich, a game time decision. So things are starting to get really interesting here with this Hawks news.
Yeah, not only that, Goga will play, Dwayne Washington out too. So yeah, news is starting to hit. I see we the people say no Pritchard, question, shocking. I think Pritchard's interesting, and
he would be he's 5th for me. I like him too. Yeah.
I was gonna say I'm more on DC's side. Yeah, I get what Mangone's saying a little bit. I'm banking on these absolute bums not getting run. And if they do, I'm gonna be on to tomorrow just because I mean, 4 out of the 5 starters out. It's hard for me to ignore some of these guys. I'm with you though. For Grant Williams, I just never get excited about rostering Grant Williams. So him, Hauser, guys like that, I'm just not going to touch. But we talked a lot about the game. Toronto's a fade. Boston, we like. But it's an important one for DFS when that many guys are out. So that's why we spent a lot of time on it. Hit the like button, guys. Almost are getting there for us. We got 3 games left on the slate. Hit that big red subscribe button as well. San Antonio Spurs, Houston Rockets, 233 total. San Antonio is favored by 8.5. On the injury report, Christian Wood, Eric Gordon, and Dennis Schroeder are all questionable today, which, yeah, is big news on this slate. We talked about if Christian Wood's out, Sengun and stuff like that. So definitely worth noting. As far as the Spurs, Doug McDermott, Lonnie Walker, Romeo Langford are all out. On the bet show, and I was talking, talking with Spread and Tyler, these Spurs guys need to win. And if they want to get in the playoffs, they're tied, or if they win, they will be tied with the Lakers and hold the tiebreaker spot for the play-in game, which is important. If we see 40 minutes of DeJounte Murray, yes, his price is $11K. I don't think people are really going to play him as much. But if you sign me up for 40 minutes against this Rockets team, I am all over him. I think triple-double, monster games in the realm of possibilities. So I think he is a very interesting play. We know we talk about how loaded center is, but Jakob Poeltl, 6.6K, maybe no Christian Wood, even if he is there. I think he's very interesting. And this Rocket side can only get more interesting if all 3 of them are out or something. Jayshawn Tate, 4-1, KPJ, 6-2 or something. Man, go, and I'll head over to you. This is an interesting one for DFS. Talk about it.
Yeah, definitely going to be a game that you can get some exposure to in your lineups. DeJounte Murray is probably like one of the better spend ups on this slate for me, but like there's a lot of good spend ups. So it's tough to make the decision. Also, Jakob Poeltl, like another reason why I talk about this center position, it's like, okay, like he could easily crush at 6.6K and be someone that gets 40 to 50 fantasy points and like be someone that might make sense in your construction. So I like him a lot. I think he's a really good option. Him and Murray are the 2 main ones that I'm focusing on right now. On the Rocket side, we need this Christian Wood news because if he's out, well, this is a really good spot for someone like Sengun. I don't love this spot for Jalen Green. I think the upside is there if you're doing more of a middling build and like you're getting exposure to some of these guys in this game. I really don't hate it, but not something I'm prioritizing. The guard position just has a lot of opportunity cost, but I need this news on Sengun. That's going to be really important for sure. And I think my main guys right now are Murray, Poeltl, and then on the Rocket side, it's really just waiting on Sengun. And if Wood does sit, Jayshawn Tate at 4-1, that's a pretty cheap price tag for him in a forward position that we've talked about not loving as much today. So that's going to be important.
Yeah, sounds like you and I are lockstep. Jakob Poeltl, DeJounte, the only 2 there. Take good price if he's out. Sengun, obviously, with Wood and stuff. Yeah, before I get to DC, Dennis, will Pop do that, though? Seems like he doesn't play anyone 40. Guessing what Pop's going to do has never been a plus EV strategy in DFS. It will never be. It's hard to guess what he's going to do. But when you look at the standings, they want to win and try and be in the playoffs and stuff, it seems like that's what they would do. So they have something to play for, which is why I have interest personally. DC, talk about this game.
Yeah, Spurs are, not in must-win territory, but getting pretty close. Like they're on the outside looking in, but just a game.
And they hold the tiebreaker. That's the big thing with the Lakers.
Which game or 2 out, but they got to win though. And you're telling me a team that has to win. You've got DeJounte Murray. I mean, look at just the last game he played. He shot 4 for 19 from the field and didn't hit a 3-pointer and put up 57 DraftKings points because he's a man on a mission right now. And you tell me he's going to play all the minutes in a must-win game, and it's the Houston Rockets on the other side who want to lose or in contention to get the number 1 overall pick. Murray, I mean, I think he's going to smash here. You can pair him with Poeltl if you want. These teams have played 3 times already. Murray at 58 fantasy points per game over those 3 contests in just 32 minutes. So, you put that up to 40 minutes. If you think that's what he's going to get tonight, that's like 70 fantasy points. If you multiply it out, Poeltl has smashed them almost 40 fantasy points per game in his time. So I kind of like that pairing. And yeah, the Rocket side just going to depend on the news. Obviously, Sengun would be one of my favorite plays. He normally crushes if he gets the opportunity. So if Wood sits and you've got a spot, Sengun, a very, very good option.
Yeah, absolutely. This Rockets news, you can't ignore it. We know how much Sengun has crushed in the past. And they have 3 guys. It's not just Christian Wood that's questionable. There's 3 guys. So
right.
It's going to be an interesting game. We love picking on the Rockets. They have injury news. The game is at 8 p.m. Eastern. All these games. So 8 of the 9 games start from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern. Then we have 1 game on an island at 10 p.m. Eastern. But we can't fully ignore that game. So that's kind of the broad overview of the slate. 2 games left. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. We do want to get you the plays of the day, so make sure to hit it. Golden State Warriors, Memphis Grizzlies, 222 total. Memphis is favored by 11. On the injury report for Golden State, Steph, Clay, Draymond, Otto Porter, all out. Andre Iguodala is probable. And then Gary Payton is questionable. As far as the Memphis side, Brandon Clark and Jaren Jackson are questionable. Ja's still out. Killian Tilly is out as well. DC, I'll head over to you. I think Jonathan Kamenga, 4-4. I expect him to start. I think he's a good price tag. Makes some sense there. I'm going to be interested to see how you compare him to some of that Boston value. Yeah. And besides that, anything else in this game?
Yeah. Kamenga is interesting for sure. All the Warriors guys are out. This happened, almost this exact same scenario happened in Miami, right? I think it was on that day, Jordan Poole was my play of the day, put up 50 fantasy points. Look what he's done. I say that not to, brag about it, but when he gets this opportunity, like he lived for this moment. I mean, look how many shots this dude is getting up. And now he's got, basically the whole roster out. Wiggins, the one guy left that, could conceivably put up a big game. It just doesn't happen, right? They just don't play through Wiggins. So it'll be the Jordan Poole show here. Obviously the matchup's tough going into Memphis. I get all that, but it kind of was against Miami too. And he's just going to have the ball constantly. He's going to probably get up 20 plus shots. I think Poole 8,100. I think he'll get him low owned too. People haven't really been buying in for whatever reason. So I like Jordan Poole. There's just so many guards to choose from. Poole, DeJounte Murray, Trae Young, just to name a few on the high end. Obviously the Celtics guys, Smart, Derek White. Like you can't play all of them. We haven't even got to the Portland OKC game, which presents a couple more options. So, but I do really, really like Poole here, especially if he's going to be as low owned as I think he will be, because I think he'll kind of slip between the cracks with Smart and White there in the mid range. And then people are going to want to play DeJounte Murray, Trae Young on the high end. I don't see a lot of people paying that 8,100 for Jordan Poole. I think he's got easy 50 plus, production here and possibly more. I don't see any reason why he couldn't just go absolutely crazy if his shot's falling in this game.
Yeah, I mean, Poole, we talk about when there's no Steph, any of these guys, the ball is in his hand. Even when Clay was playing, Poole is setting up the offense. He has the usage. So yeah, I mean, he has a lot of ceiling at 8.1K. Mango, and I want to go to you. Talk about Kamenga, because 13 minutes last game, 14 minutes the game before. Some people in chat talked about like how Kerr pulled them. The minutes definitely are uncertain. Obviously, without most of these pieces, you'd expect him to get a good amount of minutes, but man, it's not safe, I don't think. But you also don't love Boston. So how are you comparing Kamenga, Boston, and then talk about anything else in this game?
Yeah, I mean, I got fooled once on Kamenga. The next time I decided not to jump on it. So I'm not getting fooled. Not as the gift says, not today, Satan. No Kamenga in my lineups. I am not getting tricked by that. It's too good of a slate. Too good of a slate to be playing Jonathan Kamenga. And I say that, and I'll probably be loading up on Portland and OKC. But I do like the Jordan Poole call by DC. And I'll admit, Coach got me on him. He was talking about Jordan Poole last week. He was all about Jordan Poole, and I kind of laughed at it. And then I saw what he did, and I looked into like more of the research on him. I was like, Jordan Poole's a really good play. And I've been playing him lately, and he was terrible the other day shooting wise and still got you 42 DK points. Yeah. So like, I'm in on Jordan Poole. I mean, DC, you kept telling me to go to the hole on Rubio and I didn't listen. And then I started to, so then we got that open jumper and splashed him home. That's what we want from Jordan Poole. We want to keep playing him. We're going to ride him out until it hurts us too much. And I think he's a really good tournament play. It's going to be very low owned. The only reason not to play him is opportunity cost at guard, and there being a lot cheaper options. So he'll probably fit maybe like my Aaron Nesmith kind of build. But I definitely think that Jordan Poole is a contrarian spend up option that you need to be considering on this slate.
Absolutely. Besides, so no Kamenga besides Jordan Poole, nothing else in this game, man, going?
No, only thing I'll say is we have talked about, we got the Run Pure gear. No one has it really on right now, but we typically wear it a lot on these shows, and we're giving it away once we hit 15,000 Twitter followers. So if you're new, like the one guy on our channel, we have a Twitter page. It's called Run Pure Sports. Check it out on twitter.com and go follow us. Once we get up to 15K, we're going to do a nice little giveaway over there. So you guys should go follow that if you haven't.
Run Pure Sports on Twitter. Give us a follow. Good call there, man. Going. Hit the like button too. 9 more likes for the plays of the day. Hit that big red subscribe button too. We appreciate all of you hanging out. And yes, as Hunter said, Porter is out. It's a whole different situation than Kamenga. Yeah, they have more guys out than they almost always have. But still, as a young guy like Kamenga, you usually don't like seeing him being pulled like he has been. 13, 14 minutes for someone as talented and where he's seen 30 minutes before, still a little concerned. It is a different situation. I like Kamenga more than I pretty much have almost all year, but still, it's not like he's a guaranteed 30 minutes today by any means. There is some unknowns there for sure, but yes, it is a different situation. We got one game left on the slate. We're going to have some interest in it. Hit that like button, though. The plays the days are coming. Oklahoma City Thunder, Portland Trailblazers. This game locks 2 hours after all the other games. 222 total. OKC is favored by 1.5. Man, here comes the injury report. It's a long one for sure on both teams, but I'm going to read it off. SGA, Giddey, Dort, Kenrich Williams, Ty Jerome, Derek Favors, Mike Muscala, all are out. Darius Bazley is doubtful. Jeremiah Robinson Earl is probable. So that's a lot on that end. Going over to the Portland side, let me find it quick. Again, who's out? Lillard, Josh Hart, Nurkic, Anthony Simons, Watford, Justice Winslow, Eric Bledsoe, Joe Ingles, Nasir Little, and now Greg Brown is also doubtful, I believe is last what we've seen from him. Two teams that are very, very short, obviously. They're not good teams. This is like one of the games we're talking about, like G League squads and stuff. Yeah, a lot of these guys maybe should be in the G League, but we got to play some of them, and it's a good game, I think. Theo Maledon, Trey Mann, and going over to the Portland side, Chris Dunn, Ben McLemore, Keon Johnson, CJ Ellaby. I'm just going to go to UDC. I didn't even mention Poku or stuff like that. I think you can play a lot of these guys. So I want you to rank them on both teams, 1 through 4, how many you'd play max in a lineup, because you can't ignore this game.
Yeah, it's tough. This is going to obviously decide the slate. Last game of the night. I think most people will have at least a player or two probably from this game in most lineups. So the DFS world will be watching closely for this tank game. But
and just the DFS world. Other than that, nobody's watching this game.
Yeah. But we'll start with the OKC side. Maledon, their starting point guard now. I think he's my favorite. We've seen that who's ever in the lead, playmaker role for OKC has thrived, including Maledon himself, right? These last couple of games. Trey Mann does, do some of that himself, but it is mostly Maledon. So he looks like an awesome play to me, 4,500. One of the first guys in my lineup tonight. I'll probably fade Trey Mann at 5,800. I think it's going to be, mostly Theo Maledon that does the playmaking and the point guard duty. So he's the guy I want. Like, you could play a Wiggins if you wanted to, but he won't be on my team. The two guys that are interesting, I think, are the big men for OKC. Obviously, Isaiah Roby has huge upside if he's going to be out there running pick and roll with Theo. And then Poku, I think, is a fun tournament play. I've been pretty impressed. Still he hasn't been shooting it well, but I think he's got a lot of upside in any individual game, especially a game like this where the other team's got 8 guys and is barely trying. I think Poku is a fun tournament play, and you can kind of make a play like that more so at the forward positions than I think you can the guard positions today. So I do like him quite a bit. I didn't rank him there, but Maledon by far 1. I would go Poku 2, Roby 3, and I don't think I'm going to go much further than that on the OKC guys.
Makes sense. Man, go and head over to you. You're hesitant on Boston Valley. You're hesitant on Kamenga. That means you're going to probably be pretty much all in on this game for value. So talk about it on both sides.
Yeah. So actually I was looking at this game and I just thought of in my head, like, if you want to get courtside seats to an NBA game for cheap, this is the game. What's your guess, guys? What's your guess on the price to get courtside seats for this game? What's
like you're literally on the court?
What?
On the court?
Yeah, it's right behind the bench. At least that's what it seems like. So okay. Right behind the bench.
600, and I have no clue.
I'm going 180.
Yeah, 273 behind the visitor. That's the cheapest you can get. So if you're really looking, you can get your Poku jersey on and get out there and watch the game. I considered doing courtside seats way back when the Sixers had that really bad team before the tank and just like go to like a really crappy game. But I thought it was hilarious to look up because I was just looking at some stuff and man, I don't know what teams are going to want to actually win this game. I mean, obviously it matters for OKC to lose if you look at some of the ping pong ball stuff, and they definitely value draft picks. I mean, winning this game is not valuable, but they have a bunch of guys that are going to have opportunity and going to be cheap. And also there's only 8 bodies on the on the Blazers side. Like, and when you were going through the injury report, Ted, I was like, man, it might be more productive to go through who's actually playing the game. Like Brandon Williams at 6'9". Do I actually want to play him? Not as much, because there's more risk to the price. Keon Johnson at 3'9" as a starter, kind of more interested in him. Also has that guard and small forward eligibility.
Yes.
CJ Ellaby, another guy that seems like they're giving, decent amount of run to. That's one of the guys that, if you look at the minutes, it never at least gets below 20. It's kind of between 20 and like 36. So it just depends how it goes. And he's shown some opportunity to play pretty well. So 4.6K, I don't hate him. I do like attacking some of these big men like Drew Eubanks. Like, what other bigs do they have? I mean, of course, it's positionless basketball and they don't really care out there, but Drew Eubanks against OKC could have a really nice upside game and get you like 40 DK points at 7.1K. And that's not that bad, especially if you're building out some of these mid-tier options. So don't mind him. Ben McLemore at 4K, definitely someone that's willing to chuck up the ball. That's what I look at when I have these crappy teams. Who's a guy that's selfish and just is willing to chuck? Ben McLemore at 4K. Don't hate that. Chris Dunn at 4.4. He's shown the ability to be a decent play, but I also want to look at ownership on these guys, because a lot of these guys are gaining ownership. And if some of them are going to be too high owned, like if one guy's like 25% and another one's 10%, I mean, there's not much of a difference between some of these guys. So I might just kind of go to more of the lower owned guys within the game. On the OKC side, it does seem like there's at least better players there. Like, I'd be betting on OKC to win this game. So I noticed while we were on the show, they were minus 1.5. I'm probably going to put a bet on OKC tonight. So OKC, definitely looking at like Maldon, definitely a guy that I think his minutes are pretty secure, even if the game is like a really bad game. Like, I remember I was watching whoever OKC beat the last time out. They had a really disgusting closing lineup, which made me think they must be trying to lose this game. Yeah, Theo Maldon was like the closer with like Lindy Waters, Oliver Sarr, like all the good players weren't actually playing, or the better players that they have. So I think Maldon is really safe no matter what. I think Trey Mann is going to chuck the ball up a ton, so I don't mind him. And then Poku is a guy that his minutes seem pretty safe no matter what. Lives within that 27 and like 35 range. So I'm kind of living on those guys. Those are like my main ones I'm looking at. Maldon, Mann, and probably Poku. I don't mind a guy like a Roby, but they have Sarr and they have, JRE, who's going to be back, where those guys could steal some minutes, and they're at a center position that could be a little bit more valuable. So if I rank the values in this game, my current ranking is probably going to be Poku number one because of his position and the price, because small forward price doesn't really matter as much today, in my opinion. So I'll go with him as my one. Maldon is my two. Mann is my three. And then on the Blazers side, man, it gets tough, but I'd probably say Ellaby comes at number one for me. Then it's like Keon Johnson two, and then maybe McLemore at three as my rankings. And then probably Eubanks four, just because he's really expensive and there's ways that it cannot work out for him.
One thing that's funny. So James Robinson Earl, you brought him up too, man, going, he hasn't played since January 28th. It's kind of a scrub, but like last game of the night, like he matters. Like if he's in the rotation, he matters for Roby in particular. He makes me a little bit nervous, honestly.
And he's power
and
forward.
I'm also excited for you to fade Joker for 7.1K Drew Eubanks, by the way. That's
well, you don't have to fade him. You can play both, right? Because there's so much value in this game. Like, you can play Jokic and play Drew Eubanks and then play all these really awful guard, and like you can play Aaron Nesmith, and like you can just fill it out with a stack of this game. And you can go to the bar, DC, and there's a guy watching the Memphis and Warriors game thinking you're watching the marquee matchup of the night, and you say, hey, sir, can you get the Blazers and Thunder game on? I'm really excited to watch this game. And the guy's going to look at you like you're crazy.
7.1K Drew Eubanks. Dude's not even on a full contract. He did fourth 10-day or whatever. He's 7.1K. That is that's late March DFS for you, but you can't ignore the game. It's one of the few unique things. If you're betting it, like when Spread and Tyler, they're talking about this game, took them 2 seconds to say pass. They're not putting any hard-earned money on either of these teams, and I wouldn't either probably. But man, going likes OKC side a little bit. DFS wise, you have interest in both sides. I like the OKC side a little more, but that was all 9 games for us. You guys got the likes for us as we knew. We appreciate that for sure. Before we get in the plays of the day, though, I want to tell you guys about the Underdog promo code we have. They have NBA or playoff best ball, MLB, NFL, Superflex right now. They run really cool contests over there. They also have this over-under stuff, kind of like player props, so you can check out too. So for your first deposit, if you haven't deposited over there, use the promo code RUNPEER and they'll match you up to $100. So pretty cool. Check it out. They got MLB best ball, like we said, going on. That starts soon. The NFL, NBA they have. So make sure you head over to Underdog. Use the promo code RUNPEER to check it out. But time for the plays of the day. DC, I'll go to you first. I'll mix it up a little bit. The mom's basement play of the day. Who do you got?
I'm glad you came to me first because I think Mangone might have tried to snatch my play. I got to stick with my man Jordan Poole, putting up big game after big game, playing without all his Warrior teammates tonight. And I think you'll get another 25 plus shot attempts and hopefully another 40 minutes out of Poole. He's been out there playing 40 minutes every single night. I think he will again tonight, and he'll drop a big game at 5% ownership for us.
Jordan Poole, the mom's basement play of the day. Just in case you took Mangone's, I will go to myself first or second, give Mangone a little bit of time. I'm seeing this guy under 10%. It's at a center position I like a lot, but Jakob Poeltl as the SO play of the day. He has treated me well every single time I pretty much go to him. Love picking on the Rockets. I think you can play DeJounte and Jakob Poeltl together. If they want to win, I expect big minutes. Love picking on Houston. I like the 2 center builds for sure. If you want to play him with Jokic, if you want to play him Tyson, I think you can go a lot of different ways. 6.6K for double upside with 50 plus upside in a win, I think makes a lot of sense. So we got DC, Jordan Poole, myself, Jakob Poeltl, and Mangone. Heading to you for the Sweet Travis play of the day. Who you got?
Yeah, so I think small forward is like not a bad spot to be different. I love Poku today. Not that I don't like him. I think he's going to have a lot of ownership, but I'm looking for a pivot. And I think small forward is not a bad spot to pivot. And this guy could become an even better play. Also an uncomfortable price tag, but price might not matter as much today because of all this great value that we have in this Portland OKC game that we can't wait for, and all the great Boston Celtics value like Sauce Castillo. But Kevin Huerter, we'll go with him at 5.7K. DC, you're shaking your head, but hear me out.
One of the worst plays of the day of the season right here. Kevin Huerter. You think Kevin Huerter and Drew Eubanks are going to lead you to victory tonight, man? Come on.
Well, hear me out. So here's the matchup. Indiana, a team that we can target a ton. They're absolutely awful. And here's 3 guys that have absolutely cooked this team recently. Desmond Bane went for 48 fantasy points. Josh Hart went for 40. Jalen Green went for 36. Guys that are like sharpshooters a little bit. Not like perfect. It's not the perfect.
Jalen Green? You're comparing Jalen Green and Kevin Huerter as similar players?
I'm trying to do my best comp I can. I'm trying to talk it up, but I think he has a really nice ceiling. The Hawks need to win games. They're in that 10 seed. We want to play guys that want to win games, right? There's an opportunity if Bogdanovich is not there. You also might have him out, which that'd be huge for him. He might play a massive amount of minutes at times. Also, you might see DeAndre Hunter slide to the 4 at times during this game, where that's going to need Kayvon Huerter to play at the 2 and the 3. So I think he's going to be really low owned. I think there's 40-point upside, and at 5.7K, I think that's going to be worth getting 40. Like, I'll sign up for that if I can get there. And I think that's definitely possible.
Nine games and Kevin Huerter. Come on, man.
What odds can I get on Kevin Huerter putting up 40 fantasy points? DC, can I get 10-1? What can I get from the Draft Cheat Sportsbook?
I've already been mean enough to you. I don't need to take your money too.
Kevin Huerter, Jakob Poeltl, and Jordan Poole as the 3 plays of the day. Hey, you guys, this show, you guys usually probably know how it goes if you've been here for a while. Anytime someone starts chirping plays or this and that dude usually goes off to have a pretty big game. So we will see.
Oh, he's going off for sure.
Yeah, that's just usually how it goes.
I don't know if you're back, DC, on one of these days. Wednesday, I get to get you Wednesday. So we'll.
Oh, you know it's bad when he's already looking in advance when he can see you next to rub it in.
I'm ready to eye you down, DC. I'm excited, and Big T will be there. So either way, he'll jump on me for playing a whitey, or he'll jump on you just because he likes to jump on people.
Yeah, I'm excited for the.
He's not playing Kevin Huerter as his play of the day. I'll say that.
I don't think so either. But hey, you got to get to Run Pure Sports to check out who Big T will have in his core plays. We got JSU, JT, K Phallic up to lock. K Phallic, don't be yelling at me. We still have a minute to go. But yes, join them for the Up to Lock show. News is going to be hitting. News is already starting to hit. Appreciate all of you guys getting the likes for us. Hit that big red subscribe button while you're at it. Head over to Run Pure Sports to check everything out. But that's going to do it for us. For Mangone, DC, Simon behind the sticks. I'm Titletown. Good luck, everybody.